Vintage. Hey, can you hear me? Vince, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hold on. Fellas, can you hear me?
Yep.
Is better?
Oh shit, Vintage. That's a dope ass sign. That's a dope ass sign.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great logo.
Yeah, man. Vintage Infinite.
Got,
Yo.
as usual, I'm recording this because these are important development sessions. So I always want to get your thumbs up on that. So all good?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm cool with it.
Okay, so just gonna clarify what I heard and understood from your passion and body language on IG. It sounds like and Vintage, I definitely would like you to weigh in on what you simply have capacity to do. How you know however you want to get it done and support. Tai Chi Wonder doing the form to me is the anchor of this piece. You know, it's you get, and not just a shot of you doing the form like from far away. I'm talking about like get a few minutes of the form of a full body shot, then get insert shots of like the hand and like the elbow and like the like and Ruben, you can help guide what moments Vintage should capture based on your knowledge of the technique, because like one shot may be for ward off and maybe not just the expansion of the arm out, but the distance between the hand and the heart, the shoulder blade disappearing into the upper back to help the circulation run and shoot to the fingertips. Like all these little details, the rolling of the hip, potentially, if that's in the style that you're doing. So all these little moments would be super interesting to cut, because when you do the form, you experience as one moving piece. So I think it's really, really interesting to be able to capture your experience of how it feels in a similar way that the Vintage with that last piece wanted people to feel like, hey, I choose peace because I'm choosing the breath. And there were movements that you showed, but it was actually, that piece to me is actually way more about hypnotizing somebody into the breath. You know, bringing them to a trance state while they're watching it. It's a very, very powerful thing to do, to induce peace in the viewer. That's profound. So how can we do something in a similar vein, but different with your piece? And I think that really taking the technician aspect of what you're talking about visually and showcasing the expertise of the technical side of what you're doing, the movements, again, these slow insert shots that Ruben, that I really think that you'd have to think about for Vintage and say, hey, this is my favorite part of this form. This is my favorite part of this other form. And for the sake of cinema, you don't have to shoot the entire form, because cinema is the suspension of disbelief. So therefore, you can cut from one part of the form that may be in the first minute to another part that might be in the 6th minute to another part that might be in the 11th minute, and say, okay, I want to show this move. I want to show the transition to this move. I want to show the transition to that next move, and be able to just kind of string them together cinematically through your narration. And the narration is really, to me, what's going to take the visual of you doing the form, and then we'll be able to intercut not only with those small pieces, those are all, so we'll think of the form as like the tree trunk of the story, but the narration are the branches that bring us to different moments in your life. And those different moments are, whether it's you brushing your teeth in the morning or opening a door, walking out, like anything we can shoot in one location, to me, is going to be the thing that's going to be the most efficient for your time this weekend. So and maybe there's 2 locations. Maybe it's, hey, we're going to Ruben's place. We're going to shoot inside and outside the place we're going to get the form wherever you want to do the form. But then we go and we shoot it at your place. And if you have martial artists on call, so now we're talking about 3 things: form, home, and if we have martial artists on call, and I'm wondering how many you can get, because there's something
Maybe like
actually
4.
don't need choreography per se. What we
Yeah.
need is the feeling of antagonizing presence. Because the feeling of antagonizing presence, it's what's going to get people excited for the next episode. That's a cliffhanger. So if your video ends with whether it's one guy standing in front of you or 5 and they're all ready to fight, and then like we cut to a shot of you throwing like a fist at the camera or something like that, and it's boom, hard cut on that, and then it's like the next episode, you can plan a fight scene like after that, and now we've just captured people's attention, we've endeared your character to them, and now we have something to build bricks upon, to place bricks upon. Even more so, even a wider foundation for the Tai Chi Wonder narrative. That to me is, I'm interested in both of your thoughts on that, but that's just me saying that, hey, form, home, and potential fight location, like fight scene moments. You don't even need choreography. If you want a social distance, you don't even need to be in front of somebody's face. It's camera shot of the antagonizing force and shot of Tai Chi Wonder as the camera pushes into him, throwing some sort of Tai Chi strike that just cuts to black. That's what I'm thinking. I'm interested in your thoughts.
Oh man. Well, Vincent, how you feel about that?
So wait, let me ask this first. What is the main purpose of this video? What's the main intention? To show
Hey,
Tai Chi Wonder, and his life, or like, yeah, what's the main intention?
there you go. There you go.
That's
Okay.
great. I think the intention is to have a personal account of a character, to showcase that the JFH universe is filled with the depth from a JFH universe standpoint, the depth of story. Like each character has a deep origin, and I appreciate what you're saying there, because you noticed that I didn't mention anywhere in the story JFH at all yet. Like it's really just like, and that can be handled through narration. That can be a shot of you on the phone, and that shot can lead to the final shot of a bunch of people about to, that you're about to fight. Like that's cool. But I think the intention is really actually showcasing that a single hero's story can be interesting enough. A single hero's like feeling, inner narrative can be interesting enough, and it just so happens to exist in the JFH universe. To me, this is not like a heavy-handed justice for hire, going down low justice for hire kind of like experience. This is like, hey, this character exists. This is his lifestyle. These are his principles. And I think that if anything else should be our first intention, should be to showcase the value of living a discipline first.
Mm.
If we showcase the value of living discipline, that's the only thing that's going to make other people want to have discipline. So how you put on your shoes, how you brush your teeth, how you do all these things, showcasing that your discipline is so deep that it informs those actions, that's a game-changing narrative, versus to say I work out and then I go and kick ass, which leaves out literally everything in between. Like it just says like I work out for problems. Like that's not what we're doing. Like we're training for life. So I think that being able to, and also understanding that this is an action cinematic universe and we want to have excitement, we want to do all those other things, and that sometimes that excitement comes in the form of being able to stand up for what's right in the face of antagonizing forces. Sure, 100%. But that's what everybody tries to do. And we can save that to the end, because that's going to capture people and be like, oh, I can't wait to see the next episode, because now there's going to be some fighting. And what I saw in between was all these cool moves and a way to actually use them in the real world to live a better life. I think that's a really interesting intention. And I'm super interested in your guys' feelings on that.
Yeah, I like what you said about training for life and not just a problem. And Yeah, I would like to showcase that more. I'm not sure how right now in the moment, but yeah, I definitely like that, and I would like us to brainstorm on that.
That actually, I'm that's actually sounds amazing. How can we put that on film? Like, how can we make that cinematic where we can show the audience training for life? Um,
What do you
because
mean, audience? Isn't it just you?
You said
okay,
the audience. Did you say who's the audience, Vintage?
No, no, I said what? Because he said, how do we get the audience to do that? Is that what you said?
no. How can we show that to everybody that, like, training for life, right? Like,
Mhm.
how look on film, like would we do like a I wake up in the morning, like, pretend that waking up in the morning and, somehow start practicing some breath work. And then from there, get ready to go to work. And then, like, load up my truck with a whole bunch of tools. And then, going on a pit stop to take a break somewhere in like 7-Eleven, which is actually reality. And then actually practicing something. And, somehow putting some form of narration in there, right? Something that may come from my heart in the moment, I guess, as we filming, like how I feel about that. And then thinking about, see, because now I want to go to like where my dreams, where I want my dreams to lead me, right? Or where I would want to lead my dreams to, right? That, which is kind of sketchy, because what it seems like what we want to do is just focus on the story. um and so again, like, we can do something like that where we could pretend that I'm just waking up in the morning and I'm brushing my teeth and I'm like doing all these moves as I'm flowing through my day. And then, like, you know loading up my truck to get ready for work, and then somehow go to a pit stop at some location, or maybe a park, and practicing some moves. That's what I'm picking up now. Like,
So,
I
so
yes.
I love everything you just said, and I want to be a resource in terms of the differentiation from chronological order and the language of cinema. What I mean by that is that by you, we can get all of that, we can get much of that across. And I think that we need to recognize this as the first in a potentially a series of content that you might even be able to shoot on your own at some point. Because I think that what we're doing is actually very flexible in the way that it's captured. Um, and I think having Vintage involved for the first episode is powerful because it'll give it that much more of a crafted feel to essentially set the precedent of the weight of your character, the importance of the character. So that being said, chronological versus cinematic is that cinema can pull from time in different places. It doesn't have to be straight. As a matter of fact, it's often something that when if this is a school, this is a film school, and film school, like a martial art, i.e., a discipline. One of the first things that is pointed out in the discipline is the importance of taking the moments in between out. So because 1 minute of screen time is a massive amount of time. Like 60 seconds is a long time. So you walking from your bed to this to the bathroom or to downstairs or to the car, etc. Showing all of that. Not to say that that's what you're suggesting, but what I'm using this as an example. Showing all of that will not necessarily be cinematic, meaning that it won't necessarily capture the attention and suspend the disbelief of the person to bring them into your story world. So
Okay.
what we need to do is pick the moments that bring them into that, first and foremost, capture their attention. It's the first thing and that's why I'm suggesting essentially breaking this down into 3 categories. And the tree trunk, meaning the thing that literally like will carry us through the entire piece, is simply a beautiful shot. And I don't know where to take this shot. I know that you have some really interesting access to some interesting spaces. I'm not sure if these are pre-COVID videos you're posting or what, but there's one space where you're doing Tai Chi where there's wooden floors and beautiful like weaponry all around, where I'm like, wow, that's a really dope, location to train in. Not to say you have to train there. You don't need to train there, but you can do Tai Chi in a park. You can do it in your backyard. You can do it in your room. But just having that one setup, and we'll like think of that as a box. That one box of you doing the form from multiple angles, and it's very specific moments that you find are important to be captured. Just having that allows us to cut the foundation of a story. So the next thing we layer on top of that are very specific moments in your day that potentially can be woven in a similar chronological order as you just described. So like form, and then it's like, I wake up from my days, blah, blah, and like everything is martial arts. How I eat, how I move. Well, like being able to articulate that in a narrative, and then to be able to showcase through the narration, not necessarily, and the narration you don't have to come up with per se this weekend. You can narrate, you can literally take your phone and just make a recording and then send it to us and we can cut with that. Because you may want to say something tomorrow that you're like, you know what, this is actually better for this cut. And you may actually watch the cut and be inspired to say something very particular. I really would choose the most personal moments you can find where you're using martial arts. And maybe that is a pit stop, because I think that's cool to see somebody going to work, taking a pit stop, getting out of the gas station or 7-Eleven, and just walking out, because that brings a texture, grittiness, and reality to the piece that I think is going to be felt. But what I'm saying is that choosing the easy stuff first to make this doable in one day potentially, and maybe 2 days. Again, really just depending on how much time both of you have. I think it's shot a setup with the form, so that's one location where you're shooting the form. Another location is your house where you're doing all of these things at home. And then I would really set up for the cliffhanger. I would set up for in the house to tie this into the JFH universe, just getting a shot of the JFH app on your phone. And then that next scene or the final scene that you guys shoot, whether it's on a street or it's in a cool location, and just having a standoff between you and another martial artist or 5, like just having that moment to me is really, really valuable to close the piece out. Showcasing that you responded to a call and showed up for somebody as a hero as well. So you're already living this life that makes people, and this is kind of where JFH, I think one of the most important things I could possibly say that we could possibly accomplish with JFH is the concept of crafting a character for yourself as a human being, and then connecting that character to aspects of fantasy that inspire you to put more into your character. So you're showcasing that you live as a martial artist. These things go into they enhance the daily experience that you have. A normal person does not have the experience that we have waking up in the morning. They just don't have the same experience. Like as a martial artist, like specifically as a Tai Chi practitioner, the connection to breath that you have is a very particular experience, and you are using it all the time because you're a dedicated martial artist. Showcasing why that brings value and enhancement into your life in these small scenes that can potentially all be shot in your house to make it easy for Vince and potentially a cameraman makes it a much more accomplishable goal. And the only thing that would be required there, Ruben, from you, is thoughts on 3 to 5 things. I'd say 5 things that you do at home that you utilize your martial arts. And if you take 5 things and then connect that to 5 moves in your form, now we know what we're shooting on the form side, and we know what we're shooting on the home side. Because it's like, okay, like we absolutely need these 5 insert shots of the form. So, and I can break this down into like just a Google Doc and say, hey, look, setup number 1 is get Tai Chi Wonder doing the form for 2 minutes. Just one shot of him doing the form for 2 minutes, maybe the camera's moving around. Then get 5 insert shots based on the thing that the 5 moments that Ruben said he utilizes the form in his life. So now we have the 5 shots, 5 insert shots of form, the full form to cut the entire piece with. Again, that's the tree trunk. And then we shoot in the house those 5 things that you actually did with those moves in the form. So now we actually have an experience. We have a dynamically thought out experience for you to capture. And the only other thing that we need outside of those 5 things is a shot of the phone, you accepting yes, and then again, we don't have to do this as the cliffhanger. No, I'm not married to it, but I'm this is Jan, action director hat on, saying, what do I want to see Tai Chi, like a cool character do? Because I'm a Tai Chi practitioner next to there is nobody in the United States doing Tai Chi in action films. There's just no one doing it. So it is us. And there's a bunch of us that want to see this, but Tai Chi doesn't have, Madonna and like Jennifer Aniston or whoever, like, like the actresses that put a lot of money behind making yoga popular in the early 2000s, which is why yoga is so popular in America. It's because actresses got behind it and made it pop. So we need to make Tai Chi pop. It's us. So okay. like what Vintij set off with that last video laid a foundation for this video, and what's going to be accomplished in this video from my heart, I want to make sure this is aligned with everybody, is setting up like real Tai Chi action heroes that showcase, hey, we can live differently and actually have a better life and a better world, and we can also take pressure. Because we can take pressure, it doesn't matter how little or how much, we can redirect it toward a goal. And that extreme amount of pressure could be emotional, and that extreme amount of pressure could be warfare. But they're both pressure. They're just extremes. And so you ending out in the moment where it's like, you know what, this is just another moment of redirecting pressure for Tai Chi Wonder. Boom, like have that hard cut on the end of you just doing like a cool move to the camera. That's it. That's all I
Here's everything. So here's what I came up with. We could do 2 things that I normally do as a Tai Chi practitioner, which is just, it's weird. It's the way I open my door and close it. It's so crucial to me. Is like it helps me tap into Kung Fu. It helps me tap into Tai Chi, the flow, right? I don't know why I give it so significant meaning. It's just a freaking door. You just open and close it naturally. And then the second thing is how I wash my plate.
Nice.
I got caught
Showing
up
a man washing a dish with absolute focus.
in China,
I love this.
I know it's weird. In China, everybody has to wash their plate, and you can tell there's such a Zen thing behind it.
I love washing dishes, man. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, and we over there, if you don't have any soap, you wash it by hand and water. And the food that we eat, it's all vegan, so there is no animal product or anything that may rotten or may decay, right? So the stuff that's being brushed off the plate with water alone is something that's easy to brush off. But so those are the 2 practical things that I normally do. The second thing would be meditating or just practicing Tai Chi in my room, right? Or in any part of my house, I'll practice some Tai Chi, right? So that's something that I do.
Any part of your house, you'll practice some Tai Chi. So you potentially practice in multiple areas of your house.
Yes. It's either that. I mean, I turn off the lights with my feet, which is something often, but
that's huge.
Yeah. So it's something that, so I was thinking about maybe doing one or two, three moves, right? And then the other one is possibly how I get ready for work, right? How I lift the tank, right? Using the flow, right? So I, swing the tank over instead of just like, grunting it, boom, boom, right? Which is sometimes is what we need, right? So we need to grunt things over, right? But sometimes when you just tap into the flow, into the kung fu, into the energy, right? You begin to apply the push, leverage, and filled, right? You push the thing over, it leverages over, it's tipping over, and you just ride it like a wave until it's filled, right? So how I ready the truck, maybe pick up one or two tools with the same concept and the same moves, right? That's in the form. And then we could do the scene at the school. I'm gonna see if I can get permission. I'll do the scene at the school real briefly. We'll run over to my house. We'll do those three scenes, three or two scenes, whatever Vintage is feeling in the moment, and how his space is creating the vision for it, because it's very crucial. And then we can. I can see if I can call two people who can wait for me at 7-Eleven, and then ready to to pop off and start some shit, you know what I mean? And just, and then from there, I'm able to apply some Tai Chi move to start kicking ass and cut scene, right? In a perfect world, this would be like something really cool. This is at least what I'm seeing, because I don't get, or, this is new to me. So to visionize that is not in my realm, right? I mean, possibly, when I'm daydreaming, but whatever. So anyway, so that's what I was thinking based on. Sure. Hey, Jan, you still there? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm taking notes for each thing you said.
Okay. So 3 moves at the house, the whole scene that you were talking about, the trunk line at the school, and then having 1 or 2 fighters waiting for me at 7-Eleven, maybe smoking a blunt, something, or whatever the fuck. I don't know how we're gonna put that cringy, right? Or maybe somebody bumped me in the shoulder or something.
Well, I think that so this is again that now we're I love what you just said, because I have a shot list, or I just have some notes here that we can start breaking this down to really simple terms. And Vince, I'm super interested in your thoughts so far. But I think it's super. I just want to make sure that, especially because we're doing this independently and swiftly, that no one is ever in danger while we're making something happen, and choreography actually takes time, and it takes time, and it takes like experience doing the choreography. So I don't know if your guys have experience doing that, but I think that the smart thing to do, and the thing that actually connects us to the JFH brand the most, is to have that shot in your house of you getting a call, like a hero call. I can make a graphic and send it out. You can just have it on your phone as a picture, and we can get a shot of it. But you accepting that call, and then showing up to guys who, maybe if you have 2 guys that could show up, maybe one guy is getting harassed, and then you just step up, and all we need, and maybe it's not even harassed. Maybe it's literally like the last thing I want to do is have you guys having a scene or a fight scene or causing commotion somewhere in public that makes people think that there's a problem, because then it's going to, it puts you in danger, and I just don't want to do that. It's not necessary. Like, all we need, because all this is about, is information hierarchy, right? Like all the audience needs in the information hierarchy for crescendo to have that moment of being like, something's going to happen, that cliffhanger moment, is to see that you're ready to step up for something. The narration can carry us there. The app image will carry us there. And all we need is one, even just one person standing and looking like he's a problem. All he needs to do is look past the camera like he's a problem. And all you need to do is be calm, ready, and you can do a strike at the camera. That is the easiest thing to get done, because outside of that, I would be personally concerned for you guys, like essentially attempting to make a story with this fast of a turnaround that has any martial arts like action in it. or even an altercation that leads to the solution of a problem through any use of martial arts. That's my personal concern for your safety. So I would highly recommend against that. But outside of that, Vintage, like what are your thoughts on especially I actually one more question before Vince, before you jump in, is how close is your house to the school, to the 7-Eleven? Let's say if those are three locations that you've mentioned, how close are each?
7 to 10 minutes to school and the nearest 7-Eleven.
Okay, 7 to 10 minutes each. So it's all in the area. And okay, cool. And
schools in Clifton, which is about it's anywhere about 10 to 12 minutes. But I want to make sure that Vintage. I'm not sure if what works for Vintage, because we're discussing what times works, right? But Vintage is a crucial part because we're doing it on his time, and I think that he works really well with Ralph and the input that's needed to pull this off, so we could do this in the morning time, Saturday or Sunday. And then the locations are about 10 minutes apart. I still have to get approval, and I still have to get the guys. And it's perfect because my friend, he's actually Asian, Filipino, and I think his other part is Asian. I forgot. I know he's half or something. But the dude is super, super cool, and he's a martial artist, Muay Thai fighter actually. And,
nice.
Yeah, man, the dude is, oh my goodness, you fall in love with the dude, man. Like the dude is so cool. He's such a nice person. But yes, I still have to call him, and I still have to set up that appointment, and it's like extremely fast. I'm like, yo, bro, you gotta come and do this. And then I have to call my other boy, he's a martial artist, Sergio, we've been talking about getting on the film and doing some form of fight scenes and just creating fight scenes. So he wants to get on board, but now it comes down to like, okay, hey, this is a short notice thing. You ready? Like jump to the call, right? So I have to still get 3 approval. And if these approvals do not work, the school access or the 2 people access, because we only have 2 days to do this, what would be an alternative? Is it a wait time, or would it just be shooting a scene at a park, doing the form, and then doing some form of narrative? Because I was also thinking going to my old neighborhood, we can shoot a scene there. I could maybe call 1 or 2 people from the block and just be like, hey man, yo, just post up. And just look like something's about to go down. Then I'm just gonna come and diffuse it by presence of the yang, right? Or the presence of the yin, right? So
question. So how far is your old neighborhood? That's a great question of what happens if how far is your old neighborhood?
Washington Heights.
Okay, and which is, I mean, in terms of time.
Actually, Ralph shot a scene there. He shot a scene at the park where I grew up at, J Hood Park.
No, I'm saying in terms of like if we were shooting at your house and then moving to Washington Heights, how far is Washington Heights from your house?
25 minutes.
Okay,
Depending.
so I think that I love the Washington Heights concept. It might be valuable to save you walking around your old neighborhood, because that's a story in and of itself. And that story is different and complementary to what we're talking about now. If you don't get approval for the school, it's super easy because the school is just a location. The school is not really a character yet unless you plan for the Tai Chi Wonder character to use the school as a consistent location. So if you can't get access to the school, I highly recommend either shooting your form in your house in the places that you normally do it, because that makes a lot of sense, and that grounds you in a particular way. Or just shooting it in a park. But if you can't get access, the cool thing about access to the school to me is that it creates a visual separation of to anchor the narration. So the school, if you can get it, or a park, a place that's separate from your home, would allow us to have the thing that we start the scene with and that we keep cutting back to. Like we're going to keep cutting back over the course of this piece to the scene of you doing the form. So even when we cut in moves, if you were doing it in your house, we still cut back to you doing it in the school if you get the school. If you don't get the school, do it in front outside of your house, because or at a park, because honestly we want to make sure that from a time and management standpoint that that we're just being the most efficient with everybody's time. So I think that capturing less is going to be more for this, and I think that you can save the Washington Heights for, let's say, the next episode. And I think that there's so yeah, that's my answer to the question to what happens if you can't get the approvals. If you can't get the approvals for space, if you can't get the approvals for people, then we should probably just come up with a different ending. If Dream or somebody like that is going to be on set, or even Vintage, if like literally like Vintage is a character, like if you guys, there's always another way to connect the JFH app to action. And when I say action, I don't necessarily mean a fight scene. I mean like you taking action as a hero within the cinematic universe with other heroes. You can team up, like the end can be you just meeting up with another hero and going to take on some sort of experience. And that experience we can figure out. But I before we dive too deep into that brainstorming, that line of thinking, I would would like you to confirm or whether or not somebody's available to do it with you. And again, the doing, and I think it's really interesting, the guys that you're mentioning, one of them being a Muay Thai fighter, I think there's value if somebody, because when you cast somebody as like, look, JFH, you can join as a hero, client, or villain, right? Clients are heroes too, because they're pointing out the problems in the world that the heroes need to go and fix. So they're being the eyes and ears of these community to a certain extent. But villains, the challenge with the villain character type is that you can get too deep into believing yourself as a villain, and that's not at all what our purpose is with what we're doing for JFH. What we're actually doing is creating heroes culture, and we're creating heroes culture, or we're augmenting it, because it's actually already there. People want to be heroes in their own lives already. People are educated by brainwashing themselves with superhero genre, etc., to want to actually feel that power inside themselves, which is awesome. All it does is help evolve humanity. So what we can do is like, and I'm saying all this to bring us right to the concept of you have a buddy who's a Muay Thai fighter who if he comes onto this, you can easily say to him like, hey, this is just going to end in a cliffhanger. If he wants to be a hero, the next scene could be a little fight scene, and then him realizing that you're a hero and that you guys actually want to team up. We have something like that coming up for episode 4 for JFH. I think we're going to be recruiting a lot of heroes that are misunderstood as villains, and then they become heroes, and that's how we're going to build out, like, just exponentially the hero team. So all of that being said, it's a combination of location, which, and location is really, like, not really an issue, and just confirmation of who can show up to help. If it's one person, leave it at one person. That's totally fine. We don't need a lot of stuff going on to overcomplicate things. But Vintage, how does it work for you? Potentially going to Ruben's place and just doing everything in a 7 to 10 minute, distance. Just like the perimeter, 7 to 10 minute perimeter around his neighborhood.
I was gonna pick him up.
Oh, there we go.
I was gonna drive out there, pick him up, bring him over here, shoot the scenes, from the 3 locations, and then bring him back. That's because amazing. if this happens on Sunday, it would be great, because there's that get together which I would really like to partake in.
Oh, you want to go party?
It's something like I guess I just want to be around like-minded people, like this conversation, right? and I guess they're going in depth with it. I'm not sure what's the direction for the gathering, but it's definitely something that I just kind of want to just lay back from like working, and I just I just want to be, bro.
That's what's up.
So be in that atmosphere. So
Okay, so it seems like Sunday's the ideal for you guys to essentially get this together within Vintage. You said you have to start at what time? 2:00?
Well, Saturday is good for me too, in the early morning or early afternoon.
got it.
So what might actually be valuable is to just kind of split the location. Like if I mean, like what's time looking like for you guys? Because if Saturday works for you too, then potentially you could just shoot and Vintage, I'm sure you'd have to figure out whether Ralph is shooting this or not. And we want to be mindful of his time, but essentially, if you're my mindset is that if this is all in what time is Sunday? You said the Sunday you get off at 7 a.m.
Morning.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
Ruben, you get off at 7 a.m. from work, right?
Yeah, I could meet up with them anywhere, at any time between 8 to like 12, 1 o'clock. But obviously the earlier the better, just to get the things done. But yeah, any time they pick, and in that time frame is
Okay, so you said 8 to 12, 8 to 1.
8 to 1.
Okay, so that's a 5-hour span, and that's actually amazing because 5 hours from my thinking of this, 5 hours is more than enough time to shoot. That being said, like your locations and your people better than I do, and you may say, hey Jen, like we're not going to be able to, like if I see this guy, we're going to be like, hey, what's going on? We're hanging out. It's going to take us a while to get a shot off. Like that's I don't know, but if 5 hours for 3 locations within a 7 to 10 minutes perimeter around your centralized location of your house, factoring in, when you say 8 to 1, do you mean you can be picking up Vintage at 8, or you get off of work at 8, or you can be taking a shot at 8? Because those are 3 different types of stuff.
So I get out at 7, and I can be picking him up before 8 o'clock, at 8 o'clock. So it would take me from Secaucus to head over to Brooklyn maybe about 40 minutes. So I should be essentially 40 minutes from any time frame he picks in the morning time.
Okay, so that means that you're not starting until 9:30, 10. Like right. if you're picking them up around like 7:40, 8 o'clock, by the time you get back, which is another 40 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so then you're back by like 8:40. You get in, you start getting a sense of the space. I'm not sure. Vince, have you been to his house before?
No.
So what might be very helpful, Ruben, is for you to send us a video of, and you can even do it right now if you want to, but essentially just like walk around your house and show us the spaces that you want to potentially shoot in. Because if you do that, then Vince is going to be that much more prepared. And if Ralph is shooting it, the cinematographer should always see the location before they get there. So for you to just be able to kind of get a sense of, okay, this space, the light washes in this way. Oh, okay, I can probably fit holding a camera on that side. This scene of him washing a dish should probably be shot from this angle or that angle. So those are just the logistical things to consider when setting up for a scene. I think you guys the last scene that you did was all exterior. So, and the lens was very, very nice. You shot on a very nice lens, but the location itself, I think it lended itself to the location you chose, and the fact that it's outside. You don't have to worry about lighting as much because it's essentially all overcast lighting, which is some of the best lighting you can shoot in. And then you have New York as a backdrop, like New York, Manhattan, like proper, like, monument kind of locations as a backdrop that people have recognized. So like now that we're going more to a specific neighborhood in New York, you want to be able to be able to capture, to be able to know how to capture the space. And that's really more on Vintage's side of like, hey, from a directorial standpoint, how do I want this to feel and look, especially being a New Yorker, because we're you're essentially sending out the message of how New York looks and feels to the world with this stuff, and should look and feel like New York. So so my concern with a 10 a.m. start time is that gives you 3 hours, and I think that 3 hours is a 10 a.m. start time. If you do pick them up at 7:40, you get to the place by 8:20, 8:30, and then you start shooting by, let's say, 9, or you're ready for your first shot by, let's say, 9. Maybe it's 4 hours, and if you have 4 hours, that's cutting it close, but I think it's great. But 4 hours for 3 locations can be challenging. So I'm just interested in what you guys are thinking. Like, can you potentially go to Vintage? What time does your thing start on Sunday?
Early morning to afternoon, to like about 2.
So okay, so your thing starts at 2, or you have something.
I'm gonna be on my way to Brooklyn at 2, so I can get there by 3.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying that the shoot should be finishing up, should stop essentially at 1:30, so you can clean up and then be out by 2.
Right.
Okay, so that means that you have a 9. Let's call it 9:30, 10:30, 10:30, 11:30, 11:30, 12:30, 12:30, 1:30. So you have a 4-hour span of like live time, and if you calculate in, let's say 10, let's give it 15 minutes traveling between the locations. If you get all the locations, that's 30 minutes of time. So that means 3.5 hours plus setup. Take another half hour out of each one of those. So you might have anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours of real shooting time. As long as you're organized, this is simple, and you could totally get that. Like, I actually really do think you guys could do it on Sunday.
So if Sunday, if we can pull it off on Sunday, right? Because nobody wants to be rushed. What the Saturday looks like in the morning time, is Saturday an option?
Yeah, for me it is. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so I guess touch with Ralph and see what's availability for tomorrow. Then I'm gonna touch base, see what's available for tomorrow, or if Sunday's best, and then I'm gonna touch base with these dudes, and I'm gonna see if they're available for tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, if Sunday's best. And then I'm gonna see if I could get that the martial arts school, and see if we could do something over there. And then I guess we'll meet in the middle and, like, just give the thumbs up. Ralph is in for Sunday or Saturday at those early times, and then I'm gonna shoot these guys, and I'm gonna give you the thumbs up, if they're in for Saturday or Sunday.
So
And if,
what's up? Good, please finish.
that's pretty much it. I gotta hit up Finn and Sergio, and I gotta find out if they're available either tomorrow or Sunday, and if we can get into school.
So guys, I want to just that sounds great. And Vintage, I want to start addressing you a little bit more right now, because I think this is. But I want both of you guys to know that to a certain extent, what we're doing, like we hope our app eventually will be able to help do this for anybody, right? Because what we just did is we went through we created essentially a story module. We created something that you can insert your narration to, that essentially is 3 scenes, and we have 3 locations, 3 scenes that mean a particular thing, and by you capturing a handful of shots in each one of those scenes, we have a movie. We have a short film, and it's the first of several, right? So we will be automating this, and to a certain extent, the app already has a kind of like a first step toward that. Like, I'm kind of speaking on the justice for hire, technology side right now. But what we're the reason I'm mentioning this, outside of just wanting you guys to kind of get a little bit more of my thinking of what from an intentional standpoint, for the cinematic universe, etc. Vince, I'd like, from a directorial standpoint, I think that this and what I just mentioned in terms of the module, like a standard set of shots, it's less about us writing, quote unquote, the script right now. That like the script, like episode to episode, there should be like an evolving character and storyline, of course. But right now, the intention is to just get a feeling for Tai Chi Wonder, get a sense and an understanding of his discipline, and how it informs his life. Feel great about it, like we want to love him, and and then we want to showcase that he's actually a hero that steps up and like defends like righteousness and justice, like things like that.
Yeah, that sounds cool, man.
So Vince, I really think that your job on this your duty on this, from a directorial standpoint, is really like about the beauty of transitioning from moment to moment of these shots. And I like it, Ruben. I think I'm super interested in any, like I just wrote down all the things you just said. But what would help Vintage is, I'll call it poetry. Forget about calling it a script. But like what writing can you do? And if you need any assistance in this, like I could be helpful as well. But what writing can you do about these 3 moments that you chose in your house? And when I mean writing, I literally mean like written out that Vintage can review so that he can feel something for, and maybe be inspired to say, you know what? Yeah, we're going to do this little moment of you washing the dish, but this is what we need to see in it. Because we can have a shot set up, like a very general shot setup of like you washing a dish, but there's a difference between you washing a dish and it's just a shot, to a slow dolly in, like pushing in shot behind your back while you're washing the dish. To the difference between maybe you're drying the dish and moving around in a circular motion, and you're doing and intercutting that circular motion of you drying a dish or washing a dish with a sponge to a move that you're doing. Like all of those little things are actually in the direction. That's really what Vintage is going to be. And from my perspective, that's one of the most valuable things about having Vintage's eye on this, is being able to poetically tie the shot, the intention, and the action together. Vintage, I'm just kind of interested in what anything you might feel that you need to help, fill that duty.
There's nothing I really need, but I would like to see the script as soon as possible so I can start meditating upon the specifics of the scenes.
I'll send you something tonight.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, man. This is great. Okay, I mean, it seems like then the action steps here are Vintage is going to find out if Ralph is available to shoot either Saturday or Sunday. But the ideal seems like it's Saturday because you guys will have more time and therefore are not rushed at all, and then you can just have Sunday to do your thing with the party, which sounds awesome. And Ruben, you're going to find out about location and potential antagonizing forces, and like 1 or 2 people.
Yep.
Okay, so on my side, what I'll do in the coming, I'll figure out what a mission is that you can take on, which will bring you to the antagonizing force, and I'll just create a graphic around that and send it out. And whatever script you send over from there, and Vince, like this is probably something that both you and I should do, because you as a director should always have your own shot list. But as the thought exercise of what the app is eventually going to be in terms of helping people tell their own story, like I'll be looking at whatever Ruben sends over and just saying, hey, here's my recommended story module, like shot list. And then Vince, you could be like, well, this is cool, but I think it should be done this way and this way, and that's totally fine. However you guys want to do it is amazing. And so it's really just a recommendation from my end.
Okay.
Awesome, guys.
Is it possible to tie in just as a, I'm not sure if it's a bonus. So my boy is Asian. So I don't know if that would actually go into, Wash the Hate, right? Like, wouldn't it go into that, right? Or
Well, I'll say this. I mean, if he's the antagonizing force and you're about to fight him.
No. We could put Sergio, man. Hopefully these dudes come through, but we could put Sergio as the antagonizing force, and then we could put Finn. I mean, which would be cool that he could have that scene because
he's the Muay Thai guy.
Yeah.
So maybe he called you just for backup, and then he's ready to go.
Yeah, as in like he doesn't know whether to tap into his inner power, into his inner training yet, and he doesn't know how to release that. And then maybe it comes up to a part where I get pushed off by Sergio or something, right, in the next upcoming scene, and then he goes and unleashes his character, like I can be my own hero. And boom, like he just shows up presenting himself, right? However he wants to develop, I don't know.
I'll say this. I think that I think your desire there is admirable and honorable. I would be cautious of adding too much, even though what you're saying is absolutely it's right. What you're saying is the right type of thinking. I think that my concern is just the timing. If we can pull something like that off that feels cool and feels like thought out, that Vince feels comfortable cinematically capturing, so that because someone could just shoot something like this, and that's totally like that, like you just capture anything you want, and sure, we could do that. But like if you want to intentionally capture each shot, the amount of time that we spent talking about what we just talked about and putting our thought power behind it should probably go into the integration of Finn's character, like a same level of respect for that character introduction. And if you feel like the script, the poem, whatever you want to call it, whatever you send to us in the coming hours can accomplish that, 100%. Let's explore that. But I think in a worst case scenario where we want to introduce a character but also leave room for us to respectfully handle the introduction of that character, or greater expansion upon that character's introduction, then what we might want to do is I don't know the best way to like if it's a wash, that I think it's really, you bring up a really interesting point. I think we come to a really interesting point in this, is that ideally let's make the antagonist non-Asian. Let's do our best to avoid that. And so if you only need one person in Sky Surge, then I'd go for it. If you're going to integrate Finn, and Finn's going to be another hero, then potentially you guys can, and this could be interesting. You guys can just slap hands, turn to camera, and then it's Tai Chi Wonder and this other guy, and then you're both like, you do a pose, and maybe you're both kind of like about to strike. The camera pushes in and cuts to black. And now that's actually an even higher crescendo because you just added a new character. And so not only did you add an antagonizing force, but you add, and we don't need this, but it makes it it adds a layer of interest so that people want to come back and learn more. And so I think that's really, really cool if we leave it as simple as, hey, like, there's not, Tai Chi Wonder just went and teamed up with another guy and they're about to handle something. What is this? That's cool because that just makes me want to see more.
So, all right. So let me reach out to these dudes and see what's the availability. I'll be in contact with you guys in the next 2 to 3 hours, writing the script, the updates on what's going on.
Awesome.
Those, mandatory things from my side, man.
Thank you, man. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you,
Vince, for like Tai Chi Wonder. Like I said, he reached out like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, like, hey man, I want to shoot something, and it just this feels so right to have Vince in New York, leading the cinematic charge on this. So this is awesome.
Yeah, my pleasure, brothers.
This is a big deal, guys. So I want to be as helpful as I possibly can. I'm gonna think around that idea for just to team up the heroes and create that graphic, and I'll send that out in a couple hours.
Sounds good.
All right, love you guys. So let's connect tonight before just on the IG chat, just to confirm whether or not it's going to be a Saturday or Sunday shoot, And if it can all be done tomorrow, then it's just a big deal. It's a big win.
Sounds good.
Lit.
All right, love you
Let's
guys.
do this.
All
Yeah.
right. Later. All right,
All right.
later, Jen.
All right, cheers, guys.
Later.
Peace, fellas.